Okay, you can start.
We're starting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Mike and this is my review of the case of the Storm King's Thunder, the miniature set from Dungeons & Dragons made by WizKids. I bought an entire case. That's 4 breaks of 8 boxes. It's a total of 32 boxes with 128 miniatures. So each one comes with a large creature, which in this case is almost always a giant, although there is the option of the, well, it's not your option. There's also the Winter Wolf. It comes with usually 2 common and 1 uncommon on top of that. So as you can see, 128 miniatures is quite a collection to get all at one time. While unboxing these, I did do I did 3 videos of unboxing the first 3 bricks. I didn't do that for the 4th brick because by that point everyone had seen almost every miniature and I just felt like it was getting a little repetitive. I thought it'd be better to skip to the end, show the composition of what was in the entire case, and now that it's been 2 days in unboxing, just give my general, no longer initial impression, but my impression of the case as a whole. So what I found was, as a case, I did end up getting 1 out of every single miniature except the Invisibles. The Invisibles are the very rares, and you get 1 per brick. So I did end with 4 of the 8. Otherwise, I got every single option available, including every single weapon option. So the case has a really good mix. But then that also leads me to the downside, which is there's not a very good mix of commons. And as you see the camera panning around, on your left side, those are the commons. And I'm going to go through the common miniatures one at a time. As a percentage of the total number of miniatures, it's not too bad. I thought it was pretty good, but I do feel like if I were to buy a single booster box, I might end up being disappointed. And that is because I find that a lot of the commons I don't have a tremendous amount of use for. How many giant frogs do you really need? Scarecrow is not a creature I've encountered. I end up with 4 Yochlols, which as a demon is not something you normally encounter in packs. 4 Homunculi. Also 7 Pixies, which I have to say I do like the miniature, but I've never actually fought Pixies. I've never had a group of characters who attack a generally good creature. And then also 2 of the commons are actually special characters from the book. And so I ended up with 9 models that are meant to only represent 2 people from the book, and which would be okay if they were a little bit more generic looking. You can see one of them has a very large 2-handed sword, and the other one, when we get to it, has a very large bow, and so they appear to be some kind of specialist giant hunter, and I just don't feel like I can use those in a lot of games. But as we go through, I'll discuss them a little bit better. And we could also get some close-ups of each miniature. So there's the giant frog, and you've already seen it a little bit as the camera pans around. It's a nice model. It's well painted. It's not something I mind having 1 or 2 of in my collection. And I'm not even disappointed that I ended up with a total of 4 out of the case. That tells me it wasn't overly represented. But at the same time, if I were to buy an individual booster pack, I wouldn't really want my investment to have yielded a giant frog that I can probably get anywhere. So this is Crag Ungart. This is one of the special characters I mentioned was common. It's a decent miniature. It's not spectacular. To me, I didn't really want 4 of this one. It looks overly specialized as some type of giant hunter. I haven't read enough of the book yet that I know the role of this character. So again, as a rare, one I would end up having only 1 of, it would be a nice miniature. Having 4, it's overly represented in the boxing that they used. Next is Cazi Alphelandra. This is one I mentioned a little bit earlier. Oversized bow. You can see as well an oversized quiver. So obviously some type of specialist giant hunter. A nice model. Something I might be able to find other uses for as perhaps a wood elf archer. But as a dungeon master, I don't really like to have 4 of what should have been a rare character. So this one's a Scarecrow. And again, I don't want to sound like I have a common complaint about all the commons. It's a decent miniature. I do think the hair or the straw coming out the top looks like hair that's just messy. It's an okay miniature. It's not great. I don't mind having one on hand, maybe to attack a low-level group of of adventurers, but not something I have a lot of use for, and it can't stand in for any other creature. Okay, on to the Pixies. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 up right now. The only real difference is, and you have to get really close in to see, the one on your right has a sword, and the one on your left has a bow. I ended up with a total of 7 Pixies in this collection, which is okay. I'm not sure I would need 7, but I do like the miniature. I think it's kind of a cute one. It's not one that I have from any other collection. And they did a really good job with the coloring, and I really like the clear plastic green wings. I'm not sure if the camera can do justice. They're really well painted and really well detailed. And remember, we're only looking at the commons right now. We're not looking at some of the very special characters. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and skip up and bring in, there are 2 variants of Kenku. And just like the Pixies, both variants are commons, so you're going to end up with a bunch of these. Between the 2, I got a very nice even mix of 4 archers and 5 with the sword. Kenku do travel as packs, and you know, they call them the flightless, or the, oh shoot, I forgot what they call them in the monster manual, but you know, they're flightless birds. They do have their own little flocks, so you can fight multiples of them. But just be advised, as a common that comes with 2 weapon variants, you're going to end up with quite a few of these. Again, this is a very specialized monster, not one I've ever actually even encountered. So to have them packaged as a common and to get multiples of them, I'm not really sure how that would fit for a DM, how these would be very useful. Also, compared to a lot of the other miniatures, they're really not at the same level of quality. Okay. Along the same lines is the Homonculus. This to me is something that a warlock or some evil wizard has in their little menagerie. This is really just a single color, not a lot of detail. The eyes are dotted with the yellow, but this is also the only time, this Homonculus here, that I had one that's falling off its base that wasn't mounted well. It's not a very dynamic figure. It's not really very well detailed as far as the sculpting goes, and it's a very bland paint job. It's also still in the commons, so I ended up with 4 of them. Not sure if I'll... Next is the Yochlol. I mentioned I ended up with 4 of them. I would have been very happy with 1. I would have said, oh, that's great. This fills out my collection. I'm not sure how I will ever use 4. Sometimes for some of these commons, I just see me giving them away to friends at some point. Okay. Now, these last 2 commons I'm going to bring up. The first one is the Dark Mantle. I was very happy to get this one. Very recently, I did get attacked by these in a game of Rage of the Demons, and I had no real good stand-in model for this, so it's a unique monster, but as one we came across, it presented challenges, it was fun to fight against, and so I ended up with 4 of them out of this case, so about 1 per brick. To me, that's just about right for what I want to see in rank and file. That was a good miniature. I'm happy with that one. And next is the Hell Hound. Now, first I'm going to hold it a little bit. I hope my hand isn't too shaky, because I want you to be able to see the jaws and the coloring. You can see the ribs, the teeth, and you can just see that it's breathing flames, and they captured that with the red paint job. And I really like this Hell Hound. To me, the Dark Mantle, the Hell Hound, and the Pixies were the most detailed of the commons, and the ones I like the best. Okay, so those are the commons. Now we're going to move on to the uncommons that are here in the center of the table. First, this one's a special character. It's Kleef Kenric, Kleef Kenric, who I haven't gotten to in the book. He looks like the captain of the guard, possibly a paladin or a good human fighter. It's nice and generic. You can use him as a character, somebody you encounter in an adventure. But he's also a unique, very dynamic pose. So 4 was probably more than I wanted. I wish I'd gotten somebody else. And I'll get to some of my favorites soon. But individually, I do like him. Next is the Bandit Captain, and I'll go ahead and throw in the Bandit as well. These I think should have been common instead of uncommon. I ended up with 3 of each, but I really like them, and I think they could be generic stand-in. Let me get one that doesn't have a bent sword. Well, not quite as bent. They can be a great generic villain. You could use them as any kind of thug, pirate, bandit. They fit a lot of different motifs, so to me these should have been common instead of uncommon. They're also really well done. Mentioning that bent sword, I would like to say that they do a really good job with packaging. I had very few bent weapons, and the soft plastic that they use in the weapons is very malleable and does go back into position. So, okay, here's one I didn't recognize when I first took them out of the box, and this is the Wight. So it does suffer one problem in my book, and that is holding the severed head. To me, that's a little bit of Games Workshop type iconic. And I don't know, I just I feel like it's a little cheesy, and not every Wight you come across is going to be holding a severed head. So that said, though, I do like the miniature. I think it was well done. It does have skulls for the shoulder pads and knee pads. It's a little hard to see probably on camera. Again, that kind of reminds me of my days playing Games Workshop. But I think it makes a good Wight, and if you put some skeletons flanking him, that'd be an interesting model. So first I'm going to stand this one, because that's something I thought was awkward, and at first I thought maybe he was poorly based. But after looking at some of the pictures online, he does come at an angle like this, and I guess that's supposed to add a little dynamism to his position, like he's going to come down more forcefully with a sword. As a miniature, I don't really care for the basing, but that is really good detail. And I may see about just propping him up a little differently to take that lean out of him. But that is great detail, the scales, the sculpt, the paint job. If you look and you notice as we go through these, there's no bleed over. You know, the armor's not bleeding into the hand. Everything is very crisp and clear details. Really happy overall with the purchase. All right, here come 3 of my favorites, and I wish these hadn't been uncommon. I would have loved to have the Yuan-ti be commons. These are a lot of rank and file, and I'm going to go ahead and just put the other 2 Malison into the picture here. All 3 of these to me are spectacular models. There's not a tremendous amount of definition on the scales on the Malison's snake body scale covered parts, but you know, it is very small miniature overall. Well, I mean, it's still within the true 28mm, but you know, the arms have good scales. The one here with the sword and shield, not quite as much, but I also really like it, and I wish they had put more of them. To me, these are the kind of creatures that if they take a big play, or if they have a big part in the adventure, I don't have anything else that could substitute for these, and so I would like to have had more of them. Instead, I only got 1 of each. That's why I just went ahead and put them together. Also along with the Yuan-ti were some of the Purebloods, and they have 2 options, one with a scimitar and one with a bow. Otherwise, they're very similar. Now, when I did do the unboxing, one thing I talked about, and then I had to go back and review, is these are so well painted that they actually have slit-like eyes like a snake on the paint job. And it's very, very difficult to see. I had to take my glasses off, get right up there, and sure enough, they had that final level of detail. I do think it's true to the Monster Manual. The one thing I think detracts a little bit is the pale yellow. Makes some of the detail not really come through, so it's not as clear until you really get up in person. Very happy with those models as well. All right. Here's one of the Azure. I ended up with 2 of these. Oh, and just to give the numbers for both of the Yuan-ti Purebloods, the Scimitar and Archer, I had 3 of each. So here's the Azure. And again, another one that I really liked. I liked their use of clear plastics. They did a great job of giving him flaming hair and a flaming warhammer, just like out of the book. He looks exactly like the Monster Manual. Disappointed I only got 2. I could have used more of him. Alright, for the Githrezai, I'm going to bring up two. They're similar. I think these are good models as well. Similar to the Yuan-ti Purebloods, the color doesn't lend itself well to making some of the details stand out, but they are well detailed. And I do like the pose. They're dynamic, but not in such an extreme pose that you can't use them as representing a multitude of opponents. You know, sometimes you have somebody like the fighter I showed earlier. By the way he's pointing, he looks like he's leading. These look like good rank and file troops, and I ended up with 3 of each. So you notice that a lot of times I'll say, oh, the one with the scimitar, the one with the bow, end up with 3 of each. The bandit and the bandit leader end up with 3 of each. That's because these are all uncommons, and because I bought a single case. And so what happened was I just got a very even mix. Here are the Thri-Keen. You see there are 2 different weapon options. I got 3 of each. So this is another one where I'm very happy with the model. I like that they're rank and file. I'm glad I have 6 total, because with 6 total I can represent a band of Thri-Keen, and they're just good looking miniatures and ones I don't have anything else that can stand in for. So if I ever have a group of characters come across more than 6, I'm going to have to use some stand-ins. And then of course you always just kill the stand-ins first and keep rotating these through it. I like these. They did a good job of getting all the arms in and making them look good. Alright. It's going to be near impossible to see, but I want to at least show off the invisibles. These are ultra rares. You get 1 per brick. If you're buying individual booster packs, your chances of getting any are quite slim. This one is the Night Hag, which I will show. I did get the fully colored Night Hag. I'm not sure you can really make out any of the details. Okay. Here's the Bandit Captain as an invisible character. And that's actually not a bad one to have as an invisible, because there should be some opportunity for a character to be invisible at some point. And here's one of the special characters, Solara, as an invisible. And I forgot the name already. So here's one of the, this was actually a special character, but it's one of the commons. And it's the same Cazi Alphelandra that I already have 5 of in color. Now here are some more of the uncommons, and we're almost done with the small creatures. Here's Solara, which you just saw invisible, or didn't see, depending on whether or not you cast your see invisible spell. She's a special character, or at least a named character. She has good detail. Now if you look on her right eye, it looks almost like there's a poor paint job, like it's running down. I looked at her online, some of the pictures, and she is supposed to look like that. That's not a discoloration. I'm assuming she lost her eye in some manner in the adventure, and there's a backstory there. It's a good looking miniature. I like her. Also, I wouldn't mind using her as, say, like a pirate queen, or stand in for some other type of character along those lines. Just, she has that look. She could be good or evil. Lai and Tolio. Now, he's got a slightly bent sword. Let me straighten that just a little bit. It's very interesting armor. It's not anything I've seen before. I wouldn't have any kind of stand-in for him. You can also see on this side he's got some kind of grapnel hook, or it looks like it entangles. With his specialized armor and that type of grapnel, it makes me think that he is some type of giant hunter. He's a unique character. I only got 1, just like Solara, so that's good. For the unique named characters, I only want 1, even if it's cool. Helena Nostrum. I'm not sure what the purple is. It looks like she has crystals on her armor, maybe some type of magical effect. And she's also holding a grapnel hook that looks more like a traditional grapnel hook. Perhaps the last character had manacles of some sort. I'm not really positive. And she has brighter colors to bring out some of her detail. Okay. And last of my unique commons is the Night Hag. And I was really glad I got her. Came down to the very last box, and there were still 3 miniatures I hadn't gotten to yet. Or not the very last box, the very last brick. And I opened her up early, and I was really glad. I don't have a hag. I don't have any hags, let alone a night hag. So this was a very good one to get. Okay, now let's be honest. When we're picking up one of these boxes, be it a booster pack or anything else, this is what we're really coming for. We really want those larges. Well, I'm going to start smallest large to best. And the smallest, and you have to admit to yourself, if you just dropped $16 to $18 on a booster pack, if you open it up and you get a winter wolf that's this size, and you compare it to even one of the smaller fire giants, you're not going to be overly impressed. You're probably going to feel some disappointment, unless you've already bought so many boxes that you just wanted a winter wolf. Out of my 32 boxes, I ended up with 3, which is just fine with me, because that's a good number to have flanking a frost giant somewhere in the scenario. But if I were buying individual boxes, I probably wouldn't have been extremely happy. The next is the stone giant. It's not a bad model. I like him. I was really happy when I first opened him. In retrospect, he is a little spindly, and I know looking at the illustrations in the monster manual, they're supposed to look spindly. But I think they could have thickened him up a little bit. It's still a strong plastic as far as the base goes, and I'm not at all afraid that he's going to break a weapon off or anything. And that really goes for all these miniatures, even the smaller ones. For the smaller ones, they used a softer plastic for the weapons, so none of them are brittle. I haven't had any problems with breakage. I like the stone giant. I ended up with 4, which is good. I was looking in the book last night, and I came right to a scenario where you end up with D3 plus 1 attacking a party by throwing rocks at them. So here's another one, and I said this one in the first brick opening unboxing video. I just like Fomorians. When I see them and I read their background, I just want to fight them. So when I got 4 of him, and just like the stone giant, there are no alternative weapons. All of them look identical. So with the stone giant you just saw, all 4 had the exact same pose and weapon. Same with the Fomorians, there's no variety. So all 4 are identical. And I do think they miss a little opportunity here. When you look at the warts covering the back, they could have colored those in, maybe darkened them, shaded, something to bring out that detail. I'm a lousy painter, but even I might take a stab at that with some black ink, just to give it a darker look and bring out those warts and bring out the ugly. Okay, cloud giants. So you've been looking at the back of the cloud giants here a little bit. I got a total of 4, 2 with each weapon option. So you see there's the scimitar option, and then there's the staff. Otherwise, both are nearly identical, other than they did go through the trouble of slightly painting differently the clothing. So you can see that, and I like that. I like the little details that just show some differentiation, so it's otherwise the same model. It still has some variation. And as far as the weapons go, I didn't use any glue. I didn't use any glue for any of the giants. The difference being they're just on a hand, a tab. You slide it in, it's nice and tight, takes 5 seconds, and no glue. And I also have no fear that either one's going to fall out. Ready for play. Okay, fire giants. There are actually 3 variations of generic fire giant. I ended up with 2 of the one with the mace, and 1 with the warhammer, and later on you're going to see the other one with sword. So this is the only one that's almost identical to each other, that's only a weapon variation. I like this fire giant. It's good. I don't have any complaints, but wait till you see the other one. The other one is spectacular. In comparison to the other fire giants, these ones are mediocre, although I still really like them as fire giants. Okay. Now online, they, unless somebody posted some new pictures, the one here with the sword, they didn't actually get a good photo of that I've seen posted yet. This again is the same miniature, just a different weapon option that you slide in yourself. Now when I say a different weapon option, you don't have the option, the weapon, you only get one weapon with them. So it's not like you can choose to put an axe or a sword in, and that holds true across the board. When I say option, I just meant option at the manufacturer for what's otherwise an identical miniature. But again, just for consistency, the other frost giant I have with axe, because I have two with axe and one with sword, has darker painted leather armor. So even when it's the same miniature, there is slight variation, be it a weapon and clothing painting job, to just give you a little more for your money. I was very happy with those frost giants. I thought they were great. Okay. Moving on, these are the hill giants. I got a total of 3. These ones have different weapons and different colored clothing, but are otherwise identical miniatures. This time I didn't put the weapon in myself. They just came like this as a solid piece. All hill giants have that backpack, but to me that fits for a looting, raiding hill giant that's just coming in and stealing everything. And as far as my mix goes, I got a total of 3 hill giants, 2 with bone spear, and 1 with club. Okay, now I mentioned this fire giant, comparison to his compadres. I really like this one. Back to using the nice clear plastic. You can see the flames dancing on the sword. You also see the ball of flames in his hand. It looks really good. And as much as I enjoyed this fire giant, he's a little larger and just has better detail, better color. All around, really great miniature. I ended up with 4 of this sword-wielding fire giant, which is pretty good because, again, fire giants, frost giants, hill giants, stone giants, you're going to run into a multitude of. Not as much with, say, the cloud giants or storm giant, which I wouldn't feel like I needed that many of, so this was really good. Okay, we will go ahead and just put out all 4 fire giants. And now that I look at them online like that, I feel like at some point I should just have that coming across the field attacking the characters and just make them run away. Alright, we're down to 4 last miniatures. So, first we're going to start with Hashnag. I just got him in Brick 3 yesterday when I was doing some more openings. I was really afraid I wasn't going to get him because I'd already gone through 2 bricks. This is a good looking miniature. He's a unique named frost giant. And I only got 1, which again is good. I like my other frost giants. I don't want everyone to be the most detailed leader. It's good detail, good paint job. Again, you can see they even got in there and painted the eyes. You can even look, and they painted underneath the antlered bone helmet. Got 1 of him. In fact, I got 1 of each of the special named giants. So I believe this one is Imrith. Yeah. To me, this is a brilliant, brilliant giant. I like the lightning dancing around her. They did a great job. It's a very dynamic character. One thing I think they could have done for her is put her on like a gray, cloudy base. I think they could have used a little bit of colors on a lot of bases. Green for hill giants, gray for cloud and storm giants, white for the frost giants. But it wouldn't take very long with a paintbrush to add those details yourself either if you felt like painting the base. I haven't tried. I'm not sure if you would need some type of primer because it seems like a very smooth plastic that probably wouldn't take a paint job very readily. This is the Countess Sansuri. More use of the clear plastic to add effect. This is a really good looking miniature. As always, when I get one that is this spectacular, I only want 1. So they did a great job of putting the mix in this case. The fact that I just call them the Giant Council, of the named giant characters, I got 1 of each. I didn't end up with duplicates of something that I wouldn't have a real need for. She can't stand in for a generic storm or cloud giant, but this is perfect. All right, getting down to the very last one, King Hecaton. I was actually getting very worried that I wouldn't get King Hecaton. My wife finally opened him in Generic Human Bandit and just put him side by side so you can appreciate the scale. That is really nice. When you get a box with a giant in it, you got a box with the giant. All right, let's show you the back of King Hecaton. He's There's not a whole lot of color to the cape, but he is a cloud giant. I do like the cloud essentially coming off of his weapon. Well, that's my entire collection. I hope you had a lot of fun looking at it, and I hope this helps you decide if you want to try and get lucky by either buying a booster box to get a giant, or to buy a brick, or to go all out and pick up a case. I would recommend at least a brick. I've picked up 2 bricks now of Rage of the Demons and also Monster Menagerie. I was happy with what I got out of a brick, but it made me feel like I wouldn't want to buy a booster. And then it makes me afraid to buy another brick, because what if I get one that came off the line similar to the last one I got? So that's why this third time out, I went ahead and grabbed an entire case. Anyway, as I was starting to wrap up, I'll finish wrapping up. I hope you had fun. This was a lot of fun for me to make. Please leave some comments and feedback. Thank you.